So today, everybody, we're going to learn how, as a physician, you can gain 1,000 units in your portfolio while you're still a physician and actually have it wind up making you happier to be practicing medicine than when you started out. So today, I'm very happy to have with me Nima Zegarra, who is a full-time physician in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and a very successful budding syndicator as well. And I'm very happy to have you on the show today. So welcome.
Hey, Jonathan, thank you so much for having me. Very excited about this episode.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear your story. Actually, it sounds like you have a lot going on, but I think the first thing that's sort of like intriguing to me is that you mentioned, before we started the call, that you're actually, when I had said to you, well, you're trying to get out of medicine, and you said no, and actually that you're happier now as practicing medicine than you were before you started in real estate. And I really want to understand, why that is.
Yes. So again, I get this question very often, right? Because more and more I'm getting more involved, in syndications in real estate in general. I feel my love for medicine, it never went away. It has always been there. I have always the passion to continue seeing patients and to continue my self-education in medicine. It's just again, at some point, and you may have heard, there is a lot of workload on physicians, burnout, and also you are not necessarily different other professionals or people who work, right? You trade your time for money, right? And sometimes you don't have other options than that, right? So in this case, thankfully, and we're very grateful, in the last 5 years, we have been in real estate, residential and commercial too. And this has given us kind of to some degree, options and again, ways to, again, say hey, I'm doing this because I like medicine. I still love medicine. I want to do it, and not because necessarily I have to do it. Right.
So it kind of gives you a little bit of a psychological breathing room. Is that it? Knowing that you've now created other options for yourself.
Yeah.
Actually makes practicing medicine a choice and not a necessity. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. No. And I may not take as many extra shifts as I used to take before. So also again, that has opened my schedule a little bit more than before.
So tell me how you got involved in real estate.
Yes. So just to give you a background, so my wife and I, we both are physicians, right? And we're from South America. We're from Peru. We came here to the US about 15 years ago after we finished medical school. And we always were interested in real estate. But the thing is that you may say because of lack of education, the bread and butter of real estate here in the US is the single family homes, right? And they buy and hold or fix and flips, right? Because of the nature of our training, right? So we were changing cities every 3 to 4 years, right? So you do your residency, your fellowship 3 more years, and then you may work initially, after training for another 3 years in a place, and then you can imagine that, right? So we were moving very often. So, and because of that, we felt we were not necessarily prepared to start investing in real estate, right? So it happened so I finished all my training, my many years of training, probably about 8 years ago. And initially we went to a small town, in the border, it's McAllen, Texas, which we love. But again, we had here in Dallas-Fort Worth, where we live now, we have family and other friends too. So we moved here about 5 years ago. And after all those years, again, of education and again, realizing that we really wanted to invest in real estate, we started just after we moved to Dallas-Fort Worth.
And so what did you first start investing in single family? Is that where your journey started, or did you sort of jump right into multifamily from the start?
Yeah, that's correct. So we actually started in single family homes. We started in single family homes in long-term rentals. And so that was around 2017, 2018, which initially, we were buying initially from the MLS, then we learned a little bit more and we were buying off-market property with the BURNOUT method, right? Where you take a property off market and you do your renovations, you put a tenant, you do your loan, and then you refinance, and then you the same process again, right? So we were actually growing very nicely. Actually, like in 2 years, we grew up like up to 10 properties. However, it was becoming more like a kind of like a second job, and you can imagine, even with property manager who actually was really good, I mean, still that occupies a lot of your time. So that's the moment, again, like a little bit more than 2 years ago, when we decided to, again, like go back and get a little bit more of education and trying to find other ways that would fit more our lifestyle as a physicians, but also like as parents of two kids, right? Like, so we have like two kids, one is 7, one is 11, boys, very active, as you can imagine. So yeah, and that's how we found commercial real estate and multifamily.
So you found yourself kind of getting a little bit overwhelmed by running this portfolio of yours. How did you make the leap into multifamily? Like, what was your trajectory for that? Did you to go find education? Did you start with small deals? Like, what did that look like, sort of breaking into that?
Yes. So there's a say, like, I mean, usually when you want to break into a new space, I mean, you need to do first your education, right? Like first you need to do education and networking. So, and then usually it should take like a couple of months, right? Like from 4 to 6 months until you feel comfortable, until you have built already like a team of people around you, right? Like, so that's how we started. Actually, we kind of similar as when we started in single family homes, right? But again, like for multifamily or commercial real estate, the networking part, the building a team is way more important, right? Like, so we were going to these meetups, to conferences, right? Like, and there's something that actually I learned very quickly, right? Like, and someone told me this, like when I was starting, like, so when you want to do commercial real estate and multifamily, you need one of these three things, right? Like, so you need either a lot of time to put in the business, or you need to have a good network, or you need to have a little bit of capital to invest in yourself, right? Like, so, I mean, like we were doing already the single family houses, we were already physicians, so we didn't have that much time. And our network was good. But again, like I didn't have like the tools to start working on that, right? Like, so we decided like to invest in ourselves, and we joined like a mentorship, like a mastermind, like initially. And that's how we got started. And that's how we got extra education, the networking and the relationships with later, like develop like in these deals or properties that we acquire.
So how did the networking in the mastermind work? Like, how did that allow you to access or get started in deals? Was it that people said, "Hey, would you help us do X?" and you sort of pitched in, or like,
yes,
sort of explain to me how that came about? Because I think a lot of people go to networking events and maybe they've enjoyed masterminds, but then so nothing really happened. So what was it that you did?
yes. And yeah, you're totally right. And I have seen these many times, like in even like in our same mentorship mastermind or in others, right? Like sometimes people think, hey, I'm gonna invest in myself, I'm gonna pay this amount of money, I'm gonna be in this group, and the problem is solved. It's not like that, right? Like, I mean, like you still need to do a lot of work. You still need to do your homework. You need to get out and get to know people. Like, again, like, so we joined this group, and a couple of weeks after that, we were going like with a team, like to do due diligence in one of the properties, and the location was in Kansas City, right? Like, and believe it or not, like in that trip, so it was a 158 units in Kansas City, right? Like, and in those 2 days that we did the due diligence, I'm honest with you, I learned way more than what I have learned in the last 6 months, like doing like audiobooks and podcasts and all of that, right? Like, so it was very, very important, right? Like, and again, like when you join a group, I mean, like you're exposed, and you have the advantage to be exposed to people who are from different backgrounds, right? Like, and they have different education, different like strengths, right? Like there may be some people who are great at numbers. There may some people who have experience in managing properties at a larger scale and all of that. So that's why it's so important, again, like the networking and getting out there, even for some people who may be initially a little bit more difficult, right? Like because we tend to be shy in general, right? But yeah, no, that's a very important part of the system.
And what did you like? So on that due diligence trip, that first one, what did you actually do? You said you learned a lot, but what were you actually doing for those 2 days?
Yes, yes. So we were talking with other partners who actually went there, like to do also the due diligence, like right, like because we were interested in the deal, we're interested in again, like hopefully raising capital for that project, right? Like so, you need to again, like when you do the due diligence again, like and this is for your listeners, and it's very different than when you maybe initially go like to the property once and just drive around or just visit like as a prospective tenant, right? Like so in the due diligence, you need to find absolutely everything good or bad that is going on in a property, right? Like in the physical part, but also in the financial part, right? Like so we were looking at every single unit on that property, right? Like and you can imagine, and there's actually, I mean, it's not that we were doing that. There's a third party company that actually does that. And you can imagine like in every unit they take over 30 or 40 pictures, right? Like and they put that together and they like give us a report at the end. But also we did like the evaluation of like the financials, right? Like and to review again like if the actual financials match with what we were told like in the initial pro forma, right? Like or offering memorandum in this case. So we were reviewing again like if the tenants were actually living there or if they're actually paying for that, right? Like so that was a very important part. And the other part was also getting to know all these people with experience who had gone to this visit, right? Like so, and from that visit, that actually I gained like a lot of experience, and also I became friends like who actually we know each other for over 2 years now, and I mean we stay in touch like all the time. So,
and how many people were part of this due diligence trip?
we were about like 7 or 8 people. So
Okay.
there were 2 of them were the lead sponsors, and the rest of us, like again, like we're part of the team who wanted like to be part of this project, like in different aspects, right? Like again, like one in raising capital, investor relationships, right? Like in like in helping with like in the asset management calls, right?
So you then, so after being on this deal, or I guess you had already decided you wanted to be part of it. Like, how were you? Like, did you find out about this deal and say, "Hey, I want to be part," or did somebody have the deal and ask you to join? Like, how did that happen?
Yes, yes. So we were part like of this group, right? Like and we have this project like that they got like the LOI accepted. So they passed the information for the rest of the group if someone wanted to join. Not necessarily like to join like the sponsorship team, like but at least like to go and visit like the property as an educational part too, right? Like so and that happens like again like once you go and you get to know also the lead sponsors, you review like the business plan, the underwriting. I mean, of course, in that moment, you can imagine like not everyone is an expert at underwriting, right? Like, but you have also your mentor that you can like discuss like the many things that you have learned like the weeks like before or months like before, right? Like again, like different assumptions, right? Like again, like is this increase in rents appropriate, or is this interest rate like okay in 3 or 4 years, right? Is the level of occupancy something that is sustainable, right? Like or the cap rates even, right? So yeah.
And so you then sort of gravitated into the capital raising aspect of things. So why was that? Why capital raising? Why did that appeal to you?
Yeah. So initially, I mean, like you know, we started in single family homes, and when we pivoted into commercial real estate, we were very excited. I mean, like, and just as you can imagine, when you start something new in different things, I mean, you want to do everything, right? However, you need to be honest with yourself, right? Like, so there's some strengths and some weaknesses that everyone has, and you need to find that, right? Like and you do like this commercial real estate and syndications like in full time and for many years already. You know that this is more than a full-time job, right? Like again, and this requires a lot of experience, right? Like so you can imagine like me being a full-time doctor, having like my family and also the single family homes. I was not going to be doing a good work in just trying to do everything myself, right? Like that's why I decided like to focus on some of my strengths that again is in part providing education to other people or physician or healthcare professionals, but also at the same time like to have like a network like where I can raise capital for this project and help also other people to invest in things that they haven't exposure before.
And so how did you, I mean, how did you actually do that? Like, so you're, I mean, obviously you're in a good place because you're a physician and you're surrounded by other physicians, and physicians are well paid, and they're a lot, you know, probably a high proportion of them are accredited. So you're in the right, you know, mixture to begin with, but it's still, I know a lot of people, and certainly when I started out myself, you know, I had a real difficulty like doing what I thought was asking people for money, right? And I mean, now I don't think of it in terms of asking people for money anymore, but I really did when I started out. And I know that's a big like hurdle for a lot of people. So how did you go about starting to raise money from other people, from your, you know, from your colleagues? What was the process that you instituted, and how did
Yes.
it evolve over time?
Yes, absolutely. So like as you can imagine, like initially in the first couple of months, first year is more like the people that you know, like the people closer to you, right? Like and as you're saying, it's a change of mindset, right? Like so many people when they're just starting are kind of like a little bit like insecure or like again, like they're not sure how to talk with people. And they're more thinking about, hey, I need like to get a raise or this capital for this project
Mm,
instead of when you are more seasoned or a couple of after a couple of years or projects where your mindset is, hey, I have this product that may benefit like other people may get like a beneficial from that, right?
mm,
Like so and I'm offering like a new opportunity to invest in this. So that's one of the things. Like the other thing is like again like so just being very open about what
mm,
you do, right? Like again, like so people knew already that I was in single family homes, and when I switched into commercial real estate, they also knew about that. So they knew about like what I was doing and I was raising for, and what was my idea of how to invest in real estate. So that's one other thing, and the last thing is again like provide some value to other people, right? Like again, like as you mentioned, physicians are high earners. We have been in medical school or in education for a long time. However, not many of us has necessarily a good financial education, and that's something that is not necessarily put like in the curriculum of the medical schools, right? So and many people again like and what I would say like so many people tend to invest or do things and things that they're familiar with or things that they understand, right? And what's like the main thing that people understand here in the United States is the stock and mutual funds, right? Like
mm,
and the 401ks. So that's what like most of people do, but again like they don't know or they still don't have an idea that they can invest in other things like and again like not necessarily in real estate but also like in so many different things, right? Like for example, like in ATMs, in storage, in mobile parks,
mm.
in energy and gas. So there are many options out there, right? Like so again, like doing your part in trying to bring some value, doing some education to other people is also important.
And when you say you did education for other people, what did that mean?
Yes. So I mean, like, so it's kind of like reaching out there, like to your friends and
Mm,
people that you know and colleagues, right? Like, so like doing like for example, like in our case, is like in social media, right? Like, so
mm,
we share every week like our blog and like in real estate, like in social media.
mm,
In my case, I also have like a YouTube channel, like where every week I put some information about like finance or real estate or
mm.
syndications, right? Like so people can get like educated and be more familiar with it.
And is all your social media is sort of aimed at physicians? Like, are you specifically kind of talking to physicians as a physician
Yes,
when you're doing this? Yeah.
yes, that's correct. Like, and the reason is like, let's be honest, right? Like, I'm a physician too, so
Mm,
I understand a little bit more, and we understand each other like a little bit more how has been our path until this point, right? Like, so
right.
and to help professionals to some degree, but we're not close and we're not opposed like to work with any other professional or people who want to invest.
I mean, the reason I want to emphasize that point is because now I actually just did a long Facebook post about this in my Facebook group the other day, where people, I think when they first come into the business and they're trying to raise money, they worry a lot about their track record, right? Or lack of a track record. And they think that nobody's going to trust them to invest their money because they don't have a track record. And what I was telling them is, or what in the post was, if you're like a doctor, you already have a track record. Your track record is being a doctor. And if you're pitching yourself to other doctors, well, you have the same track record as they do. So you already have like instant credibility with them. They're already going to trust you because you're one of them, right? So it doesn't really matter if you're not a doctor. I mean, whatever profession you are, if you're a lawyer, if you're an accountant, if you're a consultant, if you're a tech person, you already have credibility with those people because you're the same as them. And if you're speaking to them, saying, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm investing in real estate. I'm also a physician. I know your struggles. I know the things you go through. I know what matters to you. Like, that's where they connect with you and trust you. It doesn't really matter that you don't have the track record. And especially if you're raising money for somebody who already does have a track record, then it's even easier. So I think people get really hung up on like, well, who's going to invest with me or who's going to trust me about this, when they've already got the trust there if they're focused on the right audience, right? And obviously you can always grow past that, but just when you're getting started, focusing on the people who are already like you just gives you instant credibility with those people.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct, and that's also part of the reason. Just to go back to your point, where I went to a mastermind or a mentorship, like because one of our mentors had like over 10,000 units of experience and multiple cycles. So I was relying also on his expertise and on his underwriting skills.
Right. So do you do any other things? So other than your social media posts, do you do meetups? Do you do any other kind of outreach or education to build your group?
Yeah, no, that's on the works. That's on the works. I mean, I wish like they would have like a little bit more hours, but yeah, no, like in this point, we're happy where we are. We're starting like to build a team that would help us to do these things more automatically and don't use that much of my time. And when that happens, I'm planning to get out more out there and do meetups and maybe even webinars, maybe with my friends.
So what does that mean? So have you hired like a social media manager or things like that to try to take over some of that burden from you?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. That's correct. Yeah. Yes. I mean, as in many businesses, you try to be present for the critical parts of the business where you are indispensable, right? Like, so for the videos or for the conferences or for the interviews or for like the, for the phone calls with investors. But the other things you try to get the help of other people.
And then when you're actually raising money, are you tending to sort of blast your deals on social media or email, or are you picking up the phone and calling people, or is it kind of all of the above?
Yes. So I mean, it depends, right? Like, so there's the 506B and 506C, right? Like, so for the 506B deals, like for your listeners, are like the type of deals that you cannot advertise openly, right? Like, so you need to have a prior relationship with anyone who wants to invest with you. So like on those ones, again, like I have a system already, like from people that I have known from before, or for people that I have met like recently, but I have had already a conversation about like their background or their expectations or the business plan or how syndications work, right? And then I put them in a separate list on my CRM, right? Which is like a system of how to manage your database, right? Like, and then like I send like emails and then like some reminders about that. For 506C, right, like that are like the ones that you can legally openly advertise, right? Like I do a little bit like both, right? Like, so I have sent like blast emails, and I'm posting in social media about them.
And then you mentioned to me before that you have now started moving from raising capital for other people to now taking on your own deals. So tell me a bit about that transition and how that's going.
Yes, absolutely. So I was mainly involved, like, again, as we mentioned, like in raising capital, investor relationships, and some asset management calls. However, in one of those deals, I met two guys who are now my friends and partners, and we, through multiple conversation, we get in touch, and our work ethic and our personalities also align. So we decided, like, if we found a property here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we were going to work together. And that happened actually last year. So last year, like about like a year ago, actually, we go into contract to get like a property here in Fort Worth, in Fort Worth, Texas, right? Like, so with that, like, it was like a great experience. And again, like, so we're really the sponsors in this property. And as I'm like the boots on the ground, I'm the one who also helps with the asset management, with CapEx and renovations, just to be on top of like the PM team.
And so can you tell me a little bit about that deal? Sort of, how big it is, what the play
Yes.
is, that sort of thing.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a Class C, so which is like a 1968, 1970 property, 105 units. We acquired this property from another group, from another owner who actually had bought the property just before the pandemic, right? Like, and again, like, because of what happened with the pandemic, their business plan was stalled, right? Like, they couldn't do that many renovations or things like that. So actually, like, the units that were renovated were like the minimum, right? Like, we're around like only 15 to 20 units from the 105 units, right? Like, and they hadn't increased the rents to the fair market value, like, because of the pandemic, the lender preferred the property to stay more full, that just increase the rents. So we actually were very grateful. Like, actually, one of my partners was a limited partner with the prior owner, right? Like, so we got you may say, like, an insider information that that property was coming to market. So we were able, like, to get an early access. And again, like, we were in conversations with the broker, with the seller. We had a very good relationship, actually. And we then went, like, to the best and final with two other offers. And our offers were actually very similar to the other ones, but because of the good communication, because of, like, again, like, the background that they were friends before. And again, like, we also had the backup from our group, is that we got the deal under contract.
And so what's your plan with that property?
Yes. So we are trying to, so as you can imagine, right? Like, now we're in different waters than, again, like 2 or 3 years ago, right? Like, and it's always important to remember this, right? Like, in the last 3 to 4 years, we have to be honest, right? Like, there are many operators that they weren't necessarily following all the business plan. And just because of the increase of the rents and the compression of the cap rates, the value of the property was going really higher, even without renovations. So now, like, it is very different. Now, like, the asset managers, the operators need to really work hard on that part, the asset management. That has become, like, the most important part of any deal in this moment, right? Like, so we're pushing rents. We're actually trying to do over 80% of the renovations in these units, right? We're also doing some spruce up of the exterior parts of the property. So, like, the residents are also happy with that. And we're very grateful also that, again, like, Dallas-Fort Worth is a very strong market. It's a market that is continuing growing for population, but also for businesses that are migrating here.
Are there any other strategies that you're able to implement there to increase your revenues? Or they're add-ons that you can add to the property? I know people often talk about things like covered parking and reserved parking, or laundry machines, or hookups. Sort of what are there any other things like that you guys are doing to boost the revenues there?
Yes. So to boost the revenue is very important, right? Like, when you talk about, like, the NOI, it's about increasing the revenue, but also decreasing the expenses, right? Like, so we're focusing in this moment. Like again, you want to increase the revenue, like maybe the rents, but again, we're going through a time where, again, like, you have to be careful with that, right? Like, so we initially are taking like a bit, like, a little bit slow on that. However, we are focusing, again, like, where can we save a little bit more of money, right? Like, so again, like, we're making sure, again, like, that we don't have leaks, like, in the plumbing, right? Like, and there's also, like, if there's any work order, we try to attend that as quick as possible, right? Like, because we know that that's going to impact our tenant experience, right? Like, and that's very important, right? Like, because if a tenant is not happy, he or she may move, like, in 2-3 months, and you know that the most expensive part when you lose money is when you have tenant turnover, right? Like,
Right.
so you
Right.
don't you don't want that. And also, yeah, we have also like a laundry room, a laundry service, right? Like the prior owner had bought the laundry like machines, so we also have that for revenue. So and we're in talks in this moment if we want to upgrade that or just to give that to a third party, like to
Mhm.
run that for us. Yeah.
And so what are what are your plans going forward? So we mentioned at the top of the show that your partner in about 1,000 units now, still continuing to practice medicine happily. So, what does the next sort of 5 or 10 years look like for you?
Yes. Growth, growth.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. So I mean, like there's so many things that we want to do, like in terms of education, right? As we were talking at some point, to do consistent webinars, for example, like
Mhm.
every month, to do meetups in person, in not just in one city, like because as you remember, I told you at the beginning, I have trained in different places in the United
Mhm.
States, right? Like in Pennsylvania and Virginia and South Texas. So and we have friends like in these different cities, right? Like on the management part, I think has been being a great experience, and it's something that we want to continue doing.
Mhm.
However, we would need like to scale down on other areas, right? Like so, and that's probably a plan that we have in 3 or 4 years to move from the full-time physician type of work to part-time physician, but still to continue on that.
Mhm. And I wanted to ask you one other question, which was, so with the two partners you have now, that you did your latest deal with, what is like the division of labor that you have with them? Because you mentioned it yourself earlier on, and this is something I talk about a lot, is that you can't do this all yourself, right? You have to slice up that work pie, somehow to take on the different roles. But it's not simply also just dividing up the work. Like the people who scale in this business, I found, are people who are able to focus on the thing that they like to do, and they're able to find people who like the other pieces and who focus on those as well. So, what does your division of labor look like, and how did you come to it?
Yes. Yeah, from our strengths and weakness, right? As we
Mhm.
mentioned before. And it was great actually that our strength and weakness complement each other,
Mhm.
right? Like, so that we have a partner like Brooks, for example, like he is great at numbers, he's great at underwriting and assumptions and doing like the relation with the property management company and
Mhm.
get these pro formas and doing the model, right? Like, and also he is the one who gets in contact with the lender for the draws and the reimbursement. Have like my other partner, Mike, who has a great experience and great background in corporate America. So he has, all these skills to manage a team, right? So,
Mhm.
so he's kind of like the captain of the boat too.
Mhm.
And myself again, like as I mentioned before, I have my network. I help like with the capital when we go to these properties. I help with the due diligence and the boots on the ground, like for capex and also for anything that may be needed on the on-site property management team.
Mhm. And are you primarily the one who's raising capital, or all of you doing that?
All of us do it,
Mhm.
yes. And we also, intermittently may accept like other people, of course, in the team, right? Like,
Mhm.
so
And so do you have any kind of like target in mind as to, you know, like how many units you want to reach? Like what is success for you? Like when you say like, okay, I'm here, like what is that? What in your mind, what does that look like when you're like, okay, I've made it? Like
yes.
have you defined that?
Yeah, I believe, it's not in terms of units, it's not in terms of deals. Like for me, success is actually being able to do what I want to do with the people I love, right? Like,
Mm.
so like in this case, just having more time right now, or a little bit more time with my family. Actually, like because of all of this, I have been able to travel with my family like the most, like in the last 10 years, in this last
Mm.
2 years, right? So that's something very important, and to feel also that I'm helping other people like to invest in something different than Wall Street, and to build kind of like a business and a relationship with my partners. That's very important. And the
And
rest just
last question.
comes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's great. The last question I had is, do you have any, like what do you think is responsible for your success? Like, do you have is there any sort of particular mindset that you think that you have, or a skill that you think that you have? If you had to point to one or two things that are kind of responsible for where you've gotten to now, what would you say that they are?
Yes, yes. So one of the things is, and I have this even from my days when I was in medical school and all of that, is consistency, right? Like, so there's going to be great days, good days, regular days, and bad and terrible days. But the difference is consistency, right? Like that you get out there and do the work, even if you're not feeling great. So that's one of them. And the other one is like just being honest and being transparent with people, right? Like, again, like, and it happens the same in medicine as in real estate. Sometimes, like, just to make a parallel, you sometimes can do the best thing that you can do and still not necessarily get the best outcome. But just being out there, being transparent, and just being communicative with your people or with your investors or with everyone, that makes a difference.
Actually, I said that was going to be my last question, but I just thought of another question, which was,
Okay.
is there anything that you feel that you've learned in medicine that helps you in your multifamily business?
Yeah, I mean, like, so part of the is the consistency, again, like to keep working, and the other one is like you may not know, but in medicine, in the ICU, in intensive care unit, we work actually in teams, right? Like, it's not just the physician by itself. We work like so we do rounds, and there's like the nurse, the respiratory therapist, the pharmacist, the nutritionist. So we all come together, and each of us support like a different part, right? Like in rounding and providing care for a patient. And I feel it's kind of to some degree similar in multifamily and commercial real estate. Everyone has a different background and strength in that.
That's really interesting, and I appreciate you sharing that. So we're out of time, but I would love for you to share, if people want to get in touch with you, join your list, follow you on social media, what is the best way for them to get in touch?
Yes. Thank you so much. Yeah, we have our website, which is nimaequity.com. Nima's N as in Nancy, IMA, equity.com. And we also have our YouTube channel. More than welcome, like, to talk with any of you guys.
What's the YouTube channel? What's it called?
It's also called Nima Equity.
NimaEquities.com. Okay, Nima,
Yes.
Nima Equities. All right. Well, everybody, please go to NimaEquities.com. Please go on YouTube and follow Harry at Nima Equities. Just from this conversation, I can tell that I'm sure he puts out some really great content that's very valuable. So I hope you all go check it out. And Harry, thanks for your time today. This has been really educational for me, and I'm glad that we got to meet.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Really appreciate it.